tarehe 22 mwezi uliopita mbele ya hawa wabunge katika hoteli ya Agile pale Nairobi, baba aliongea kwa kinywa chake mwenyewe, na waomba viongozi msiingize maneno kwa mdomo ya mtu ambaye amelala. Alisema yeye mwenyewe, akasema kama chama lazima tujiandae kwa ajili ya uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027. Na wale ambao wanaeneza mambo mengine hapa, baba alisema who has told you? Kwa juu mnaniona vizuri? Mimi ndio Sifuna.
Kenyan politics has always produced loud voices, fearless critics, and powerful mobilizers. But very few politicians have risen as fast or as dramatically as Edwin Sifuna. From storming ODM headquarters in 2016 and controversially declaring himself Secretary General.
From today, I, Edwin Sifuna, is the Secretary General of the party, Orange Democratic Movement. It's not as if we are throwing anyone out. That office is vacant. It has been vacant for the past 18 months, and we are only here to fill a gap because it is necessary and we are running out of time as a party.
To becoming one of the most recognizable political voices in Kenya, Sifuna's journey has been marked by ambition, confrontation, resilience, and timing. Now, after the death of Raila Odinga and the internal struggles within ODM, many believe Edwin Sifuna is positioning himself for something even bigger, possibly a presidential run in 2027. But who exactly is Edwin Sifuna? How did a relatively unknown lawyer become one of the most powerful voices in opposition politics? And why are both his supporters and critics convinced that he represents the future of ODM? This is the story of Edwin Sifuna's rise. Edwin Watenya Sifuna was born in 1982 in Kakamega County, Western Kenya, into a family deeply connected to politics. Politics was not a distant concept in his household. It was part of everyday life. One of the biggest influences in his life was his uncle, Lawrence Sifuna, a veteran politician remembered as part of the famous Seven Bearded Sisters, a group of lawmakers who challenged the authoritarian tendencies of former President Daniel Arap Moi during the one-party era. Growing up in such an environment shaped Edwin Sifuna's worldview early. He learned that politics was not just about power. It was about resistance. It was about speaking loudly when others stayed silent. And perhaps, most importantly, it was about surviving political battles. Sifuna attended local schools before joining the University of Nairobi, where he pursued a law degree. At the university, he became deeply involved in student leadership and debates. Friends and colleagues from that period describe him as sharp-tongued, fearless, and highly argumentative, traits that would later define his public image.
Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi ndio Sifuna. Ukiangalia.
After graduation, he joined legal practice and eventually founded his own law firm. But law alone was never enough for him. Politics kept calling. Before ODM, Sifuna first gained national attention through the political battles surrounding the teachers' unions. He served as an outspoken advocate for teachers and regularly appeared in media interviews criticizing government handling of labor disputes. This period introduced him to national television audiences. Kenyans began noticing a young lawyer who spoke confidently, aggressively, and without fear.
37 and compensation. Don't even begin about compensation. Don't even get me started about compensation. Nothing has been done. It has not been done. Article 37 has been...
Unlike many politicians who carefully avoided controversy, Sifuna seemed to embrace confrontation. That boldness will soon open the doors to ODM. At the time, ODM under Raila Odinga was still one of the most influential political parties in Kenya. However, the party was facing internal confusion and leadership struggles ahead of the 2017 elections. Then came the moment that changed Sifuna's political life forever. In 2016, Edwin Sifuna made one of the boldest political moves seen in Kenya party politics. Without official appointment, he stormed ODM headquarters and declared himself the party's Secretary General.
From today, I, Edwin Sifuna, is the Secretary General of the party, Orange Democratic Movement.
The move shocked many leaders within the party. To critics, it looked arrogant and reckless. To supporters, it looked fearless. The incident immediately turned Sifuna into a national political conversation. Some senior ODM figures dismissed him as attention-seeking. Others quietly admired his confidence. But one thing became clear. Edwin Sifuna understood political theater. He understood that in Kenyan politics, visibility is power, and he had just made himself impossible to ignore. Interestingly, instead of being permanently pushed away, Sifuna slowly gained acceptance within ODM circles. His communication skills, legal background, and loyalty to Raila Odinga made him increasingly valuable to the party.
Kama Sifuna ameongea, ako na haki ya kuongea. Ako na haki ya kuongea. Kama wewe unatofautiana na yeye kwa maoni, sema yako.
Then, in 2018, what had seemed impossible became reality. Edwin Sifuna was officially elected ODM Secretary General.
Ultimately, there's an official position that will be articulated by the party. And the spokesman of the party is usually the Secretary General. So Sifuna, women are spoken.
The man who had once forcefully declared himself Secretary General had now legitimately become Secretary General. It was one of the most unusual political rises in modern Kenyan politics. As ODM Secretary General, Sifuna quickly transformed into one of the party's most aggressive defenders. Whenever ODM was attacked politically, Edwin Sifuna was usually the first person sent to television interviews, and he rarely disappointed. His debating style was sharp, confrontational, sarcastic, and highly confident. He became especially known for directly attacking political opponents without hesitation. For supporters of ODM, Sifuna represented youthful energy and intellectual aggression. For critics, he represented arrogance and unnecessary hostility. But whether people liked him or hated him, they watched him. And in politics, relevance matters more than comfort. During this period, Sifuna also developed a strong personal brand separate from ODM. Unlike many party officials who remain invisible behind senior leaders, Sifuna became a political celebrity in his own right. His social media presence grew rapidly, his interviews regularly went viral, and his name became nationally recognizable. Despite his growing popularity, Sifuna initially struggled electorally. In 2017 elections, he contested the Nairobi Senate seat but lost.
The first time I ran, I see a lot of people saying I ran how many times. No. The first time I ran for office is 2017. Actually.
I know that, yeah.
So I didn't get the party ticket in the primaries. Tulifanyiwa maneno.
And
my friend of Ulabuke, one day we will sit down and drink tea with him.
Yes.
Ask him
He has been sitting on this seat. He has been here 3 times.
The party primary.
For many politicians, such a defeat would have slowed momentum, but not for Sifuna. Instead of disappearing, he remained highly active politically and in media spaces. He continued defending ODM nationally, he strengthened his visibility, and he carefully built relationships within Nairobi politics. By the time the 2022 elections arrived, Edwin Sifuna had become far more experienced and far more strategic. This time, he successfully won the Nairobi senatorial seat with over 716,000 votes. The victory transformed him completely. He was no longer just a spokesperson, he was now an elected national leader.
To change our leadership because it is our right. You will not gag me, Cheriot. You did not even get half the votes I have, Senator.
And Nairobi, Kenya's capital city and political heartbeat, had handed him legitimacy. For decades, ODM revolved around one man, Raila Odinga. But after Raila's death, ODM entered one of the most uncertain periods in its history. Suddenly, the party faced a massive leadership vacuum. Who would inherit Raila's political base? Who would control ODM? Who would become the new voice of opposition politics? At the same time, Kenya's political environment changed dramatically with the emergence of the so-called broad-based government arrangement between ODM figures and the Kenya Kwanza administration. Many ODM supporters felt betrayed, and Edwin Sifuna became one of the loudest internal critics. Unlike some ODM leaders who appeared willing to cooperate with the government, Sifuna openly questioned the rapprochement.
Oburu, tafuta SG wako. Mimi siwezi kuwa SG wa Oburu. Hiyo nataka niseme hapa mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu na mbele ya taifa zima. I will not be the SG of mediocrity.
That is a matter for ODM. That is not a matter for the public. We know where the certificate is. I think
his criticism earned him both praise and enemies inside the party. To grassroots supporters frustrated with ODM's direction, Sifuna appeared principled. To rivals within ODM, he appeared rebellious and uncontrollable.
Kama yeye hayuko, chama haiko. Kwani wewe ni nani? Kwani wewe ni nani unasema ati kama wewe huko ati chama haiko?
Difference between Raila era and Dr. Oburu era. The Sifuna of Raila was more refrained, could listen to Baba, could step back when, and I know numerous times that Baba said stop, and he did. But in this case of Dr. Oburu, there's no stopping him from anything. He first of all said the leader is the leader.
The tensions continued building. Then, in February 2026, Sifuna was removed as ODM's Secretary General. For some politicians, removal from such a powerful position would mark political decline, but for Sifuna, it may have become the beginning of something bigger. Shortly after his removal, Edwin Sifuna intensified grassroots mobilization through the Linda Mwananchi movement. The phrase Linda Mwananchi, meaning protect the common citizen, quickly gained traction among frustrated young Kenyans dealing with unemployment, high taxes, and economic hardship. Sifuna began positioning himself less as a party insider and more as a national populist voice. His speeches increasingly focused on ordinary netizens rather than party royalty. He criticized economic policies, he challenged state spending, and he portrayed himself as a defender of struggling Kenyans. This transition was politically significant because for the first time, Sifuna's image was evolving beyond ODM. He was slowly becoming a standalone political brand, and that's exactly why discussions about a possible 2027 presidential bid started growing louder. Edwin Sifuna possesses several qualities that make him politically dangerous. First, communication. Few Kenyan politicians of his generation can match his debating skills and media presence. Second, compared to older political veterans, Sifuna represents generational transition. Third, urban appeal. His popularity among young urban voters give him a strong base, especially online. But major challenges remain. ODM itself remains internally divided. Some senior leaders still do not trust him. Others view him as overly confrontational. And outside Nairobi and Western Kenya, Sifuna still lacks the deep national grassroots machinery needed for a presidential campaign. There is also the challenge of perception. To supporters, he is courageous. To critics, he is arrogant. And in Kenyan politics, public perception can either build or destroy momentum very quickly. Still, one reality is undeniable. Edwin Sifuna is no longer just another politician inside ODM. He has become a national political force. From a young lawyer in Kakamega to storming ODM headquarters to becoming Nairobi senator to surviving internal party wars after Raila Odinga's death, Edwin Sifuna's political rise has been dramatic, controversial, and impossible to ignore. The big question now is no longer whether Sifuna matters in Kenyan politics. The big question is, how far can he go? Could he become the next major opposition leader? Could he inherit ODM? Or could Edwin Sifuna eventually aim for the presidency itself? Kenyan politics is changing rapidly. And whether people support him or oppose him, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Edwin Sifuna is positioning himself for the future. Cash Media Kenya, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.